mural. Why did you choose the number 18? Is there any significance to it?
Yeah, so when I started this project in January of 2020, I'm sorry, January of 2023, the pandemic makes us all lose track of time. I remember I'm a Persian Christian, and since the age of 4 years old, I was raised in church. I was praying. I remember at church just saying, God, like, is this you? Is this what you want me to do with my life right now? Like, so after praying, in the Christian world, we have people who are like prophetic, who hear from God. Two prophetic people called me, and one of them was at the Sea of Galilee, and she said, I don't know what you're praying for, but God told me to tell you 18. I said, what? That's an 18? And then the very next day, another Christian man who's in Singapore also called and said, I don't have any time to talk, but I just want to tell you, God woke me up in the middle of the night. He told me to tell you 18. I said, what? 18? And so you go to learn that 18 is a very special number in Judaism. It means life. I didn't know that before I started this project. And when I started with the first mural back in January 9th of 2023 in Jerusalem, I remember just saying, God, 17 more murals? That seems so far away. Like, how am I going to do this? And as I mentioned to you, like at the time and still right now, I'm paying for these myself. So I was like, how can I even afford this? So, in the Christian faith, you have to have faith. And I just kept jumping on a plane. I just kept designing murals, kept by the grace of God getting walls. I think we can agree on is how incredibly complicated Israel is. Uh, Not just the history, but the government. Like right now, the government is incredibly complicated. Um, and so every Christian and every Jew that lives in Israel comes to me and they say, we have never seen anyone with this kind of favor. Like, no one is allowed to do what you're doing. It's a miracle that right now there's 17 woman life freedom murals in Israel, and they're the only woman life freedom murals in the Middle East. To this day, there's still none in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, UAE, Saudi Arabia. Like, this is the only country in Israel's the only country in the Middle East standing with the freedom fighting women of Iran.
So, how do you get to go to Israel? Who do you contact? And why did you choose? I mean, where is the first mural in Israel? I mean, we've met.
So
Bit
yeah,
more.
so what happened was I helped birth a mural in San Francisco. A woman who's an artist in LA, she contacted me. She said, we have to make murals. The Western media isn't covering what's happening in Iran, the woman-led revolution. And I said, oh, I don't make murals. She goes, you don't have to make the mural. All you have to do is get me a wall. So I helped get a wall in San Francisco. When the muralist finished, I called her up and I said, hey, can we take a picture? I'll put it on my Instagram. And here's the next miracle of the story. We put the picture on Instagram. The picture goes viral. One of the people that sees it is the vice mayor of Jerusalem. Her name is Fleur Hassan. And she was introduced to me through a reporter named Emily Schrader. So Emily Schrader, through Instagram, makes a comment, tags Floor. Floor sees it and says, let's do a mural in Israel. So I DM Floor. Now at this time, so this is like November. So online, there's thousands of pieces of art already for woman life freedom. This is a needle in a haystack because you're not just looking for woman life freedom, you're looking at everything on Instagram, the hundreds of millions of pictures. So I messaged her and I said, how do we do this? And she said, in Israel, Floor said, we don't do anything over the phone or Zoom. If you're serious about doing a mural in Israel, you have to jump on a plane and meet me face to face. So next thing I know, I jump on a plane, December of 2022. I'm sitting in her office and I said, Do you have a wall? She said, no. So, do you have an artist I could collaborate with? She said, no. I said, am I paying for this? She said, yes. So, lo and behold, the next mural went up. The first mural went up in January of 2023. And when Floor speaked at the unveiling of the first Woman Life Freedom mural in the whole Middle East, which just happened to be Jerusalem, she said, I have been vice mayor of Jerusalem for 7.5 years, and I have never seen anything come together in 26 days. She said, I rarely use this word, but this is a miracle. It is a miracle that I met this young man, and 26 days later, this is up. And then 21 days after that, the second mural went up in Nazareth. And then 30 days after that, the third and fourth mural went up in Netanya. And then a month after that, you had, Mevaseret, and you had Tel Aviv. Masa Amini is wearing blue and white to thank Israel. Masa Amini is wearing gold. Masa Amini is wearing purple. And then October 7th happened. So when October 7th happened, I called, obviously, everyone in Israel or messaged them, are you okay? Are you okay? And after the fourth mural was done, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs came in and they said, we see what you're doing in the land. We want to help you. So that was also another miracle. So this is before October 7th. And when the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, even at that point, the Christians and the Jews in the land said, how did that happen? How did the Ministry of Foreign Affairs even find you? Why are they helping you? This is unbelievable. And Dan Orion and Rod Natanzon, there aren't two kinder people in all of Israel than these two. They're so sweet. So I called them after October 7th and I said, hey, and the first words out of their mouth was, everything's a mess. You can't come back to Israel. We're not going to do any more murals. And I was really like, oh my gosh, I have this number 18. What do I do? What do I do? And I remember just praying so much, going, God, what do I do? What do I do? And in November, God spoke. He spoke to me directly and he said, Hooman, who are you going to listen to? Are you going to listen to me or are you going to listen to man? So I designed this mural and I didn't know if it was ever going to go up. I did the minimum. At least I designed it to have it ready. And it was a mural that had a Persian Jew who was killed by Hamas on October 7th, Sharel Haimpour, and Masa Amini. And inside Masa Amini's face is the face of 1,200 Iranians who were murdered. And inside Sharel's face were all the victims of October 7th, side by side. And next to each of them is a verse. So over and over in the Bible, you see this theme. God says, I'm going to put my throne in Jerusalem. I'm going to put my throne in Zion. I'm going to put my throne in Israel. Like God says this over and over. And next to Sharel is a verse. God says, I will set my throne in, my throne will be in Jerusalem, and people will no longer follow the dictates of their stubborn, evil hearts, and they will. But then next to him is this obscure verse that no preacher ever talks about, and no rabbi ever talks about. No one talks about this verse because it's a very crazy verse. It says, God says, I will set my throne in Elam and destroy her kings and officials. And as we both know, because we're both Persian, Elam is the ancient name of Iran. And so you finally had the very first piece of paper in the whole world in Jerusalem that has God's two thrones side by side, Israel and Iran, side by side in the Bible. So I show up in Israel and I said, hey, I'm here. And it was December. And the ministry said, what are you doing here? We told you not to come. The country's empty. We don't have time for this. I said, I know, but maybe if you could make a little time and maybe, and they said, no. And so for like 2 or 3 days, I was sitting alone in my hotel room and, the country was empty. Finally, they said, okay, send us the design. I send the design. They couldn't believe their eyes. They said, okay, we have a very special place for this. And they put it on the Museum of Tolerance. And once again, like my faith was being tested. Either I stopped at 7 or I kept going no matter what. Sometimes you just have to show up because the whole point of all these murals is I just showed up and then God did everything else.
I mean, we visited a few of your murals. They're in a very special part of Tel Aviv, where
Yeah.
it seems that it's artists go there and all the it's an arts area, and all the walls are filled with murals, different murals. Explain to us what I never found out what that district area is all about. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so that's sort of an industrial district. It's right next to Florentine in Israel, and it's a part of Tel Aviv that the government's really trying to beautify. So there's a woman who oversees the art in that area. Her name is Aura, and she really loves this whole idea of the women of Iran being free. One of the things that all of us have to understand is even during a time of war, Israel could be entirely focused on themselves, but they're not. Even during a time of war, they're saying, we still care about the people of Iran and we still want this art here. Like we will put our attention on this. That's unbelievable to me. So in this district, they gave me 3 walls. One of the murals was done after President Raisi, mysteriously died. As we all know, his helicopter crashed in the Alborz Mountains. So I was like praying and I was looking online, and there's an underground artist somewhere in the Middle East who drew this picture of all of these women and their hair is pulling down Raisi's helicopter. And I found the picture and I saw there's a man in Germany who posted it, and I messaged him and I said, can I put that picture in Tel Aviv? And 1 minute later, he said, yes, yes, yes. I got permission from the underground artist. And so a picture like that is so controversial because what are we doing? We're celebrating the death of a horrible dictator. We're celebrating it. So no other city in Israel wanted this picture, but Tel Aviv said, yes, we want it. We want that picture here. And so when you when you go through Israel, you have incredibly liberal and you have unbelievably conservative. You have the whole thing. And the country is this big. It's this big. The country is this small. Okay. So you have, and so thank God for Tel Aviv in that moment. I know there's a lot of religious Christians and Jews who are like, Tel Aviv. For an art standpoint, it was the greatest because there's no way Jerusalem would. And so what you have is the women who Raisi murdered. Not all of them, but a lot of them are in the picture, and they're using their hair to. But it wasn't biblical enough. So in the picture, I put the finger of God, and that's a fulfillment of God saying, I'm going to put my throne in Elam and destroy her kings and officials. And when I spoke on the courtyard of the United Nations in Geneva with the families whose kids were taken hostage by Hamas, I said that verse in Geneva. I said, God, I said the verse, and then I said, God, please destroy the Islamic regime of Iran. Destroy them. Fulfill this verse. Amen.
Well, one of the more, impactful, I guess, if you would like to call it, murals that we saw in that industrial district was that the subject matter was actually very, uh, it was a subject matter that really affected us Iranians, especially women. But I have not seen any kind of art dealing with that, and that's the poisoning of the schoolgirls. And the way the mural is on the wall and the way it is peeling, it just everything is coming together. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so um, as we both know, the Western media and most of the media in the world is not reporting what's happening in Iran. In America, 90% of our news is Gaza, 10% of our world news is Ukraine, and there's no mention of the horrors that are happening. So, as you mentioned, they poison the little girls in Iran. And the way they do it is they lock the doors of the schools, they put poison in the vents, they keep the doors locked for about 45 minutes, and they open the doors, and all the girls come out vomiting and crying and sick, and they have to be taken to the hospital. So I prayed about this a lot. And one of the people that was shot in the head very early on was a Kurdish woman, Kurdish Persian. And she had a daughter, and this daughter, I can every day as a Iranian, I cannot stop thinking about this poor girl at the grave of her mother, grabbing the soil, crying. Every Persian in the world has seen this. So I was thinking about her, and I was thinking about the schoolgirls, and I was praying about it a lot. And so I said, all right, I'm gonna make an homage to this woman. Her name is Ferishte Ahmadi, to her daughter. So in this mural is a girl that looks like her, with her hair flowing. Now for those of you who don't know, this whole battle is over hair. We're talking about hair, okay? We're not talking about anything else. There's no other rights. We're only talking about this. And so her hair is flowing, and the girl is surrounded by poison. There's poison everywhere, all around her. And she's holding a gas mask in her hand, but she's smiling and she's hopeful. And the whole point of that is, you can poison us, you can kill us, you can shoot out our eye, but we will still keep fighting. We will still keep showing our hair. And next to her is a verse from Proverbs 31:25. And that whole part of the Bible is about, an honorable wife. And it says, strength and honor are her clothing, and she can laugh at the days to come. The Persian women are full of strength, they're full of honor, they're full of sophistication, they're full of poise, they're relentless, they're courageous, and they are going to laugh at the days to come. Like, they're not mourning, they're laughing. So that's the verse, and that's the picture.
Well, I was going to finish here, but I know that you have another project. Are you going for your 18th mural? And what are you going to do later on? What is your
Okay,
next project?
so I guess you'll be the first to hear about this if it comes together. So now the 18 murals are about to be done, and I'm about to hit my goal. I've been praying. I'm like, God, what's next? What am I supposed to do with my life now? And for a few months, Ron Natanzon had this idea, and he goes, I found the exact place where the consulate of Iran used to be in Tel Aviv. He says, I found the exact spot. I said, you did? I said, what is it? He said, it's a park. He said they tore down the Iranian consulate and they put a park there. I said, oh. He said, do you want to do something in the park? And so I thought about it, I prayed about it, and then an idea came up, and I said, well, if I can raise the money, why don't we do a giant woman life freedom fountain? And he said, wow. He said, I love it. So even on this last trip, he came to me when he grabbed me and he said, I talked to the ministry, I talked to Tel Aviv, they want the fountain. Can you do the fountain? So last night, I'm in Florida right now. I was starting to design what the fountain's going to look like. So it's going to be pretty amazing.